Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the first inaugural episode of the International Football Alliance coverage or newsroom. As you may know, we're live on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and maybe coming soon. But today, I really just want to get the International Football Alliance really covered, and we're gonna talk about players, coaches, teams, not just the International Football Alliance, the Wichita regulators, officially suspended operations for the 2025 season. So I want to talk about that, including a lot more to get into. So without further ado, everybody sit down, enjoy. Hosted by yours, Rafael Semerikov, and we're gonna get into the 2025 International Football Alliance breakdown, including draft, Royal Retros. Yes, Royal Retros. That Royal Retros who is making jerseys for the draft for International Football Alliance, and that same Royal Retros who makes a lot of the alt football, about alt football merchandise, rather be jerseys, t-shirts, mugs. I think they make mugs. So sit down, relax, enjoy on Spotify and on YouTube, the International Football Alliance. Show us love. So as we begin, we got to announce the 7 teams. They're announcing 7 teams for the International Football Alliance in 2025, including an expansion team, which will be in Toledo, Ohio. But we got the Baltimore Lightnings, we got San Antonio Caballeros, Alabama Beavers, and we got 7 teams and 10 games. They already released the schedule and they announced it on Instagram. And we got the season opener May 31st in Huntsville, Alabama, between the Alabama Beavers and the Tampa Bay Tornadoes. Now, there's a lot to discuss with this season opener. First, how good is both these teams going to look like? They're announcing it like it's going to be, Birmingham Stallions, New Jersey Generals 2022 type game. I don't think that these teams are going to be that good. Well, of course, we haven't seen anything, but Alabama has already so many players signed to their camp roster. What are they trying to show with that? Tampa Bay, they got their camp roster already, announced. They've announced quarterback Kanosi Perry, and they had a few other players. But we don't see anything. Now we know that their final trial is January 5th. That is the final trial for the Tampa Bay Tornadoes. We're going to see a lot about that posted. I might even post a few that if I could get something. But what are we going to see from, Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay, I have no idea. Baltimore, I have no idea. So first we got to wait for the draft. But if they're going to announce this game all the way back in September, and they're announcing it and they have all the schedules released, all the way back like a couple months ago when they were releasing this. And we're going to see Tampa Bay in Huntsville, Alabama, May 31st. This is going to be a lot to see. We're going to see, how good is this team even? I don't know how good now these teams are going to be. They're pronouncing it like it's an inaugural classic. This might be a 10-6 game, or this might be a 20-6, might be 20-20. I have no idea what to see. Now, I believe based on how much I've seen on social media, I think Ivory Durham is the Beavers starter. I know Tampa Bay has a few guys who they've kept quiet. I can't say who they are, but I know Alabama has a lot of guys. They got 275. Though they had 275 at probably one point. Maybe they've cut. Maybe they've let a few guys go, kept a few other guys. But that's not showing 11 on 11 to me. I don't see 11 on 11 like mentality with that. Maybe maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Alabama wins every single game, and then does the Birmingham Stallions type season. I don't know. I don't know what to expect with Alabama. Also on that line, we next get to the Ohio Valley Ironmen. Yes, the Ohio Valley Ironmen, who on the 24th apparently allegedly had 24. Sorry, not 24. They had 10 players show up to their trial. 10 players. Insider source, I cannot reveal, of course, but they had allegedly 10 players, around 10, 15 players, show up to their inaugural trial. I don't know I don't know who's present or not. I don't know how the outcome actually turned out. So James Franklin, first quarterback signed in Ohio Valley Ironman history, playing collegiate ball in Missouri till 2013 and entered the CFL in 2016. Last played with the Saskatchewan Roughriders in 2020 or COVID years. I guess I could say he announced his retirement. Maybe he didn't, but you could say that, make that argument. Next, we got Terrell West, running back out of Middle Tennessee. Played the FCF, Fan Control Football, as I meant to say, not FCS. He played back in 2022, announced as the first running back in Ohio Valley Ironman history. Yes, and then we got Esaias Gandy, hitman. He could hit. He could hit. He could hit. Running defensive back, safety. Entered the NFL draft. Undrafted and all that. Not sure where to go. Just go play 11-on-11 football in Ohio. I feel like that's a good presence. We may see more players signing. I'd like to see. I'd like to see them tap into the arena. I'd like to see them tap into a few arena guys. Of course, we still have the draft. Maybe they're waiting on that, but if they want their be solidified in players, I think this is a good starting three. A good three. We got an experienced quarterback at James Franklin, played a lot of Canadian football, spent a lot of time in there from 2016 to 2020. Then we got Terrell West. He's played the Fan Control Football. Very, very talented. Good film, great stuff. And then we got Esaias Gandy. Esaias Gandy, man, this guy can hit. Play his ball at Wyoming. This guy can hit. We're gonna see a lot out of that next we get into the draft. So March 21st, March 22nd is the International Football Alliance draft. This will be streamed live. Not a lot to deal with the streaming. But all 7 teams, there'll be 8 rounds between each 7 teams, so it'll be around like 56 players. We got a lot of interesting stuff. So round 1 through 3 will be international / dual citizenship players. So we can see players in the ELF or the GFL or X League or whoever. They could tap into that draft and get drafted. And the rest from those 8 rounds, from rounds 4 to 8, international, like whoever, U.S. citizen players, whoever. Now the one catch with this draft is, if you had an invite, you're not on a camp roster. So if you're not one of Alabama's 200 players, you could get drafted to any team, unless it's like probably Alabama. They're probably, I don't know if you make the team or not, unless Alabama just starts cutting players, because they also, Alabama on the 21st has, or in February, yeah, they have their mini camp, so a lot of players are gonna get cut. So they're really just gonna just trim that down. Next is so there's a lot of players. So if you haven't received a camp invite, or if you're not signed with a team for 2025, you're draft eligible. They could really just draft your rights. That's all they do. They own your rights. So we could see guys like Justin Arth, guys who played in the Fan Control Football, who played in the IFL, maybe even who just played in the UFL or CFL. We could see them come into the International Football Alliance, the IFA in 2025. We could see them come in and play. There's a lot of players, a lot of talent. Anybody from the Frisco Fighters, anybody Tulsa Oilers, anybody Saskatchewan Roughriders. You played in there, you will probably get drafted. They will probably have to meet with you, talk with you, discuss with you, probably see what they see at the Combine in January. Combine's January 18th at DeSoto High School. It'll be live streamed on Right Now TV, as I'm aware, I think. There's a lot. And I don't know what to see. I don't know what to expect. Draft jerseys will be made by Royal Retro, as the league announced on its live, and they made a post about it. Royal Retro will be making the draft jerseys. So they'll have, for all, 56 players that'll get drafted, they have jerseys for them. Jerseys are already made. Well, they will be made. They will have draft jerseys. And for people who don't know, Royal Retro is doing this is big. Not even that. This could show that this league will last long term because of this, just because of this Royal Retros deal. Royal Retros, who made a lot of the retro USFL, 1983 to 85 jerseys, will also be making jerseys for the International Football Alliance to their draft. They had XFL 2001 jerseys, XFL 2020, XFL 2023. You name it in spring football, they made it. When it came to indoor football, the Arena Football League, they also made those jerseys. So the fact that they're making the draft jerseys on draft day, March 21st, March 22nd, Huntsville, Alabama, Crazy. A lot. That's very crazy. Now, who are we gonna see? So anybody's gonna get invited to the draft? I don't know. They're gonna announce in late January their official list, and this will be a lot of players. A lot of players you're gonna see go, whoa, they're gonna be playing in this league. We could see guys who played in the IFL. We could see MVPs. We could see Dalton Sneed. I feel like Dalton Sneed might be a big one. He was my guy. I wanted to go to Arizona, but he didn't end up going to Arizona. He could be one of those guys. But there's a lot of players who could end up in this league come springtime. Come 31st, Alabama. We could see maybe Dalton Sneed starting for Tampa Bay. We could see a lot of these players. It's the reason why Dallas has been so slow to signing players has been because of this. Because this is a huge jump to draft players, and I feel like they might want to have some of the the best players. Now, we don't know. I mean, I have no idea what to expect, but I still think it's pretty cool. Not even that Royal Retros won't be making the draft jerseys in Huntsville, Alabama, rounds 1 through 3. As I said, will be dual citizen / international players. From then on, it's going to be American players only. They got 100 players, multiple players, a ton of players. Not even if you don't get drafted, no biggie. You could go sign with some of these teams, except probably Alabama. I mean, Alabama probably have theirs, trimmed down. Alabama, Tampa Bay, and Baltimore should probably have theirs trimmed down. You didn't make the roster, good luck. You could go play, arena ball. Arena ball wouldn't be terrible to play in. But Royal Retros is huge. Royal Retro signing with this team is huge. Now, at Westin Hotel, March 21st, 22nd is when we will see the draft. And I'm excited. I'm personally very excited. I'll be tuning in and I'll be watching the draft 1 through 3. We can see guys like Levi Lewis in the International Football Alliance. That'd be pretty cool to see him start for San Antonio or for Dallas or for wherever. If he even goes to Mexico, which the Chihuahua Rebellion, they have announced 23 total players to their camp, which this is great. If you get that 8, that 8 players in the draft, that's going to put it from 23 to 31. And you need to have, 53 of, a 40 active and 13 inactive roster or camp roster or, just a scout roster. And that'll be great. I think they're doing this right. I think San Antonio is doing this right. And I think Baltimore's doing this right. The one who's doing it the best is probably Dallas. Dallas only announced Matt Mangle, punter Matt Mangle, as their special teams. Also, yeah, so he's also gonna be the special teams coordinator. I think this will be great, especially because Matt Mangle can both punt and kick field goals. So if they had, two right out of the way, and the other 39, they could just focus on skill positions, really just quarterback, offensive line, defensive line. I think that's great. Art Briles knows what he's doing. Eric Marty knows what he's doing. Hal Mame knows what he's doing. Stevie Johnson coach out in Tampa. I feel like he might surprise a lot of people, but they don't know this. Before he was coaching in Tampa Bay back in 2019, he was a sheriff. I don't know what I see from a championship mentality. For someone who wasn't head coaching or really started coaching football again, it's 2019. What do I see out of that from Tampa Bay? I don't know. I don't know what I see from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, to me, could be the team that really doesn't surprise anybody. They got Orlando Doss, very talented, play at Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi's pushing out International Football Alliance players. They're pushing players out. Their quarterback played with them last year. Literally, he signed with San Antonio. He became the Caballeros. Very, very talented players. Secure, they got players on the defensive line in Tampa Bay. And they were playing Corpus Christi last season. They also have Prince Shinola. I don't know what I'm going to see out of him. He might probably make the roster. I think he could make, the first 53. I feel like we expect to see him out there. Alabama, I don't know. I don't know what you see out of Alabama when it comes to wins, but be on the lookout for how bad this team might be. I don't know if I see it. Now they might recruit a few players, get a few wins, somehow make the playoffs, and I don't know. And even that, they haven't really announced a lot of how the playoff format's going to be played. But expect that. I think this will be a very, very interesting bunch to see this season. So getting on with that from the draft, the Wichita Regulators, yes, the Regulators of Wichita, have folded. The Ep1 fan falls from 12 to 11 teams. So there's probably going to be a schedule change. I was planning attending a few week one game. Well, 1 week one game, not a few. Just 1 week one game. So that's pretty big news. I was not expecting it. They had players signed already. They already had a tryout over a month ago on November. That's a lot. It's a lot to discuss. Where these players gonna go? So they didn't have massive player signings. They only had Kilgreer, a couple other guys, which does clear up a lot why they weren't signing. Especially seeing teams like Corpus Christi sign a lot. Oregon Lightning sign a lot. Washington's been a little mediocre. As we know, Washington's bringing in Joseph Hess, and he may expect to make a huge impact. They're expecting a huge turnaround for them anyways. So it'll be pretty crazy. But outside of them, really looking that great. You got Southwest Kansas. They'll be looking okay. But I feel like they might tap in and grab this player, some team from I don't know where. But there's no way they don't go on with 12 teams because they need a 12-team season. That would be a lot better, a lot more helpful. Team like Corpus Christi, they're scheduled to play them like 3 times. How much of the difference changes that they're now going to play in Oregon? Are they going to play Oregon once, which I wouldn't mind, and a lot of players on the Christi, which love that team. Also, I'm a Bandits fan. Love the Arizona Bandits. My guys are all in there. Where are we going to see that? Are they going to poach? They can poach from the IFL. The IFL is the highest. And, they can maybe grab an NAL team. Like, just maybe they grab the Horsemen. The Horsemen wouldn't be terrible. The Horsemen would be a terrible one for them to grab. So now, the biggest question I get asked is, do you see this league lasting? Answer yes. I do think that the International Football Alliance will last. I got a lot of people who will be watching this year and who just know it's a different league. I got players who I'm telling them go to the tryouts, not the tryouts, go to the combine more. And I say yes. I mean, they're scheduled for 2026 to expand. They got 3, a Georgia market, they got a Mexico market, and they got a team that they'll announce in Toledo. I don't know who'll be the coach. They said 2-time NFL coach. There was news about Hugh Jackson, former Browns head coach. Yeah, former Browns head coach Hugh Jackson. Not a fan of his NFL work. That's me personally. I feel like there were 2 million Browns fans who were not a fan of his work. Didn't win a game one season. We know about that. They're supposed to announce a coach. My guess is Hugh Jackson. That's my guess, anyways. Because he was attending some trials, doing some things with teams. My guess is Hugh Jackson. I don't know. But what are we gonna see? Who else is gonna be the coach if it's not him? I don't know. What other teams? Because they got a Georgia market that's not Atlanta, and they got a Mexico market. So if it's not Atlanta, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not sure. But they have it at Georgia market, not Atlanta. Which that could open up, a lot. That could open a lot. It could open a lot for that team. A Mexico market, which we need to grow, football internationally. The whole thing is the International Football Alliance. So what do we see? I don't know. I'm not sure. But to expand on past 2026 to have 10 teams. That's major. 2026 have 10 teams. They have a Toledo team, they have a team in Georgia, and they have a team out in Mexico. I don't know how to people that doesn't scream this is gonna last. They could have had a 2023 season, as they said, but they're not. Now that's major. That's very very major. What do we see now? Now, yeah, of course, the simple answer is yeah. This league's built to last. This league is so built to last because they're in a better position than they were last year. Yeah, pay would have been higher. People would have people would have had jobs. People would but they're in a better spot right now. Although pay is 1,500 for a quarterback and 400 if you're not a quarterback. Now there might be a lot of under the table, but that's guaranteed from the league. You're gonna get your $400. There might be incentives. You got to tackle. You got to play. Blah blah blah. Extra $20, $100. Some player might be getting paid 300 under the table. I don't know. But this is major. This is some major news that they're expanding, and that they have announced 3 markets. It's crazy. And not even that, they're not keeping the secret. They're letting the fans know. They're letting people post about it, report about it, talk about it. Now, my guess for head coach in Toledo is Hugh Jackson. We see Hugh Jackson coach in Toledo. That'd be pretty cool. I said not a huge fan, but I still think it's pretty cool. But we got a lot. There's a lot. And now heading into 2025, we have 7 teams. There's some small things about that. We got a draft, as the lot has been stated. We got a mini camp in Alabama. We got a mini camp in Tampa Bay. I'm pretty sure we'll have a mini camp in Baltimore. We got training camp for all 7 teams. 1 Mexico team, so passports are required because you're gonna fly into Mexico at least once for some teams. Some teams probably won't fly into Mexico. Divisions have not been announced. I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep the northern teams north, like Baltimore and Ohio, and maybe like Tampa Bay and Alabama in one division, and those 2 Texas teams. We got Dallas and San Antonio, and we got Mexico right there. This is a separate division. That makes sense. Schedules were announced. Not a lot to say about the schedules, but we're gonna see a lot of good games, a lot of really good games, a lot of really good players come play. Not sure who's gonna be in there outside of Tampa Bay and Alabama. Although I do know a lot of players who will be attending camp in Baltimore, and this is looking very good. If you were like a fan of the USFL style, not the UFL, but the USFL style, this is what Baltimore is gonna bring. Is that UFL style to the International Football Alliance? Very big, very good, very high quality, good play calling, coached by Eric Marty. Eric Marty was the Michigan Panthers offensive coordinator from 2022 to 2023 to 2024. Very talented, very good at coaching. He offensively flipped that team, from a 4-6 team to make the playoffs. Very good at what he does. Very very talented. Coach Bryce Perkins up. That didn't end really well. But for the fact that he's now the head coach in Baltimore in a you could call it a lower league, year 1. Baltimore could turn some heads. They signed Bryce Allen. Now Bryson Allen played with the Houston Roughnecks in 2023. Spent some brief time with the San Antonio Brahmas. But while the fact that he's a free agent, and even if he does sign to the UFL, he can still be on the Lightning's roster. They seem surrounded around quarterback Corey Curtis. Now, of course, he only has a camp invite with a team, but I still think it's crazy. I still think it's great as well that they're prioritizing that quarterback. He spent time with the Seahawks in 2024 through minicamp with, Tuala Tagovailoa, and it's a hard name to say. Went viral for being the quarterback behind him, and they said he was an absolute unit. But he's a baller. Played at Gannon, played at Ohio State, was supposed to play with Washington Wolfpack. I'm pretty sure it was Washington Wolfpack, or was it a separate team? I'm not sure. But he was supposed to play in the AFL before getting signed. The first AFL to NFL pathway, which a lot of AFL players have been signing with the UFL. We'll get into that later in a bit. But they got a pretty talented, so they're surrounding around Corey Curtis in Baltimore. Baltimore Lightning seem to be surrounding around Corey Curtis. Outside of Corey Curtis, he's got Bryson Allen. I don't know what we're gonna see out of running back outside of Allen. They might go 1-2 punch, get a power back, or they might go split shares, clock share, time share. I'm not sure. Outside of Allen, at wide receiver, they got Todd Simmons signed. I don't know if Todd Simmons is playing with the team, but they got Todd Simmons signed to the team. Because Todd Simmons, as well as we know, is with the Arlington Renegades for 2025. He might be the starting receiver. Well, he might work his way up. We know he's in special teams. We interviewed him earlier. I'm not sure we're going to see him. But Todd Simmons could, turn, if he does end up in the, in the IFA, good luck for the league. Because he's an NFL guy. But, there are players who could say NFL guys are on there. They also got Ray Bolden. Spent time with the Generals 2022. A little bit 2023, I think. And they got Marcus Sessoms, tight end. Very good. Big body. I don't know if he'll, we'll have to see till training camp to see, but I feel like they might go get some other guys out who are over in maybe the arena ranks. They might get, because they got a lot of shifty route runners, so they might get one of those guys. On the defensive side, looking very talented. Of course, they announced defensive back Matt Elam, who spent a long, brief time with the CFL, the USFL, XFL, and now he gets to take his talents to the IFA. Another underrating signing who I'm pretty sure they might be signing, but this is just me speaking. I think they might also tap in and get Will Hill. XFL 2020, XFL 2023 guy. Battlehawks Renegades, and he's been over in Canada ever since. I feel like they might. I feel like they could, not might. I feel like they could tap into him, but I'm not sure. Now that's just me speaking because I'd like to see that, but I'm not sure going along with that. Nothing else really with Baltimore. Sorry, there's really Baltimore that would get people's eyes just going. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of that from Baltimore right now, but they're looking like they're gonna pull together a team that could possibly take it all. Along with Dallas, along with San Antonio. San Antonio has announced a few guys. We'll break into that for a separate episode. I think we'll just cover San Antonio just in a full episode and maybe talk with a few guys. But San Antonio's looking like they're slowly piecing together. A lot of teams except for Alabama and Tampa Bay are slowly piecing together. Now, Tampa's going to go with 90 guys and then cut that from 90 to 45, 54, whatever, sign their 13, practice roster. So there's a lot of guys who are going to lose their jobs. I would expect some teams to just go 75. Or maybe just get their 53, poach a few other players, get some teams, the players that get the cut, and then bring them along, be like, hey, come play here. They might grab some, the best arena guys. And there's some players who need to be on rosters. We got, as I mentioned earlier, we got quarterback Dalton Sneed. Dalton Sneed needs to be on an NFL roster. IFA roster. He needs to be on an IFA roster. Dalton Sneed's one guy. Now you can literally grab, Justin Arth is a guy who has a verbal offer to Dallas. But if he gets drafted, if he doesn't get signed, and they draft him, they're like, hey, Arth, we want you. We're going to draft you. And they take him in the draft, maybe with their first pick. That's not international. Maybe they take him. There could be a lot. That could be crazy. It'd be crazy to see because Art's very talented. Was on the show once. Shout out to him. Another guy who's, I guess you could say, dual citizenship because he played over in Europe. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Levi Lewis. I was a huge fan of his when he was back in Louisiana. Very talented. Another guy who we could also see played in the X League. We got David Pindle, quarterback out of Connecticut. Played in fan control football back in 2021. I'm not aware of his 2022. I wasn't really keeping up with it. But we can see David Pindle in this league. David Pindle, very talented, very, very good guy when it comes to football. Just look from what I've seen. I mean, I didn't really watch the X League. He looked like he dominated. It looked like he was really good, really dominated. But I don't know what else to see outside of that. Because this is the first season. This is going to be the first season. They could have started last year. They didn't. They pushed it back. And thankfully they did, because we're going to see a lot more and a lot better quality of play than we would have. But that's very interesting. That's all we really have right now for, the IFA landscape. Now there's a lot of we'll get into San Antonio in a separate episode where we just cover the Caballeros. Come on, Brahmas UFL. Might get into some UFL news, but AFL guys playing in the UFL, which reality it really just seems like it's Arlington. I feel like Bob Stoops might really just want Arlington to get a lot of these players who are really arena football and orient that step up from arena to Arlington, which is very crazy. So the Arlington Renegades announced Marquise Lawson Greenwood, defensive lineman, and they're signing that defensive lineman Marquise Greenwood to play for them in Arlington. This is crazy because this is the third arena player they signed outside of Riverius Rivers inside in the IFL with Green Bay, and then he signs with he goes over and he signs with the Showboats, which was originally Tampa Bay Bandits. As anyone who's watched knows, very, very talented, very good at what he does, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what they're gonna bring in the UFL landscape, and I'll be watching, of course. And outside of that, one final roster signing that I will announce. We got wide receiver Daniel Williams, who played with the Albany Firebirds who signed with the Albany Firebirds, who played with Tampa Vipers back in 2020. He's announced signing to the Albany Firebirds, and the Albany Firebirds are really putting up a really, really good team. Now, there's not a lot to discuss, really. A lot of other separate episodes that I'll get into to where I discuss the IFA, more AF1 landscape as well, especially, potential players who sign in the IFA. And especially potential players who sign the AF1. I got a free agent episode that I'll be working on to get free agents who are not, who already haven't been signed yet, who could be specific players. Then next we got a schedule release episode where we discuss the schedule, who's winning, but I don't really want to get to that to the draft. And then, as well as, there's going to be a combine on the 18th of January in DeSoto High School in Dallas. Very excited for that. I'll be tuning in. I might be live streaming. I don't know. But very excited for that. There'll be a lot of great players out there. A lot of great players in that landscape. A lot of great players in that area. Not really a lot more to say. I don't know what the quarterback landscape is going to look like at all. As I could say, I know who got a verbal offer, as long as there's a couple other quarterbacks to play in Dallas. So come draft time, after the draft is really when I expect Dallas to start signing players. Because right now they only got Matt Mingle announced, who'll be kicking and punting for the team. Very talented. Love his work. I think he's a really, really great punter. Outside of that, not a lot. Cozy Perry was announced as a player for the Tampa Bay Tornadoes. I don't know what to see out of that. Huntsville, Alabama, looking like Ivory Durham. Is really looking like Ivory Durham right now. Ivory Durham, I don't know what I see out of Ivory Durham. I really don't. But there may be a lot. He might be good. He hasn't really played in the past couple of seasons, but there'll be a lot to see. So without further ado, that'll wrap the first episode of the International Football Alliance podcast, where Rafael Semerikov, broke down just some news, some things going on outside of the IFA. But for the IFA newsroom, I will say to everybody, take care. Everybody, hope they're doing well. And shorter episode, not what I wanted to specifically dive in, but the next few days or next few weeks, I'll be announcing more and more, and you guys will see a lot of what's really going on. We got an episode where I just specifically talk about the Caballeros and get into them. Also, huge shout out to Terrell West, James Franklin, Isaias Gandy. I've been a little iffy with that one. Isaias Gandy, huge shout out to them. I expect them, especially that's their the first 3 players that Ohio Valley Ironmen have signed, and they look like they could really make something. One thing is I didn't announce coaches. I know we got Hal Mummy and I'm really blanking on who's over in Dallas. Eric Marty looking like he might build a pretty good. But Matt Sakis, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I haven't really looked into this. Crazy. But it's looking like he will be the head coach in Ohio. He has actually a losing record as a collegiate head coach. Interesting. But he also spent time in the fan control football back in 2023 or 2022. Sorry, they folded the dormant. There's also talks about the fan control football coming back in 2025. Very excited for that. I didn't really. It's hard for me to watch, and by the time when it was going on 2022, there was the USFL, so I was mainly focused on watching that. I watched a lot of the USFL. So if there's a lot of players playing the USFL in 2022 and 2023 who come into this league, I have a clear grasp. I know damn well how great they are. Because one guy who Alabama pronounced on their team on practice squad or on their squad is Randy Satterfield. I know exactly how good Randy Satterfield is. But Satterfield only had one good game. He was a one-game wonder, really. But I mean, he had a few week 2, and then he was with the team. He's with the team, just not really utilized. But Alabama has Randy Satterfield. I feel like probably see Randy Satterfield, Huntsville, Alabama, week 1. I don't feel like they have him announced. He probably might be playing there unless he's over somewhere else. But I really doubt that. But without further ado, that'll be the first episode. Everybody, thanks for listening. Stream us on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, maybe. That's a maybe. But everybody, thanks for listening. If you're into this far, thank God that we're doing this. And please, I'm gonna be posting content. I'm gonna be putting out anything I can do to promote the IFA, the International Football Alliance. This isn't usually how I do these podcasts, but it's the first episode. So we got Breaking Grounds. Next, we got a Caballeros episode where I talk maybe with a few Caballeros players. But very excited. I'm very, very excited. Looking forward to this. And I hope that we can do a lot more with this. So without further ado, everybody, take care. Thank you for listening. This is the first inaugural episode of the International Football Alliance Newsroom, to where I discuss the landscape of the league and more. So we will cover Ep1, final scores, players, how they're doing, how the league's doing. But that